And so what I want to say to Justin Bieber and to everybody that's following the situation is that Justin Bieber is a victim. I was horrified when I saw this, not because of the idea that Justin Bieber would be engaged in these sorts of things at these parties, but because I understood that this was a kid who was intentionally targeted by Diddy.
What if the music industry's most trusted mentor wasn't guiding young stars, but cornering them? And what if the legendary figure standing beside him at those exclusive parties wasn't just hanging out, but helping enforce the rules that no one dared to speak about? We're talking about Justin Bieber, Snoop Dogg, and Sean Diddy Combs. And a pattern that stretches from a teenage Bieber in 2009 all the way to federal raids, criminal investigations, and disturbing leaked footage in 2024 and 2025. This isn't recycled gossip. This is the same timeline prosecutors are now dissecting in court while fans rewatch old clips that suddenly feel like warnings we all ignored. And now, with Bieber refusing to speak, and industry insiders hinting that Snoop wasn't just present, but helping decide who got favored, who got pressured, and who got terrified, the question becomes unavoidable. Was this mentorship, or was it power, leverage, and control hiding in plain sight?
And suddenly he was a part of people like Diddy going after him and saying, hey man, why don't you pick up my phone calls? There's actually a video of that. Diddy and Justin Bieber looks to be like 15 years old and said, why aren't you picking up my phone calls? And he's like, oh, I know you were trying to contact me through people and I don't have your number. And the next thing we know, Justin is at Diddy's parties. And in this one video...
Let's start with the image that keeps resurfacing. The one everyone is suddenly looking at differently. It's 2009. Justin Bieber is barely 15. Diddy is pushing 40, and a silver Lamborghini becomes the star of a 48-hour hangout filmed for the internet. I end that footage. Diddy smiles into the camera and promises Justin the car the moment he turns 16. He jokes that whatever they're doing has to stay a dream, a line that sounded like harmless swagger back then. Justin even posted later saying he spent 48 hours with Diddy, made music, had fun, and thanked him for the Lumbo T.O. fans. It looked like a mentorship moment. A superstar businessman taking a young artist under his wing. But when you replay that clip today, after the lawsuits, the accusations, and the federal investigations, that one joke about keeping things a secret stops sounding like comedy and starts looking like the first domino in a much darker pattern. Fast forward to March 2025, and oh cameras, and oh jokes. Just federal agents at Diddy's homes in Miami and Los Angeles with full search warrants, and what they remove isn't rumor, it's documented. According to court filings, investigators didn't only seize devices and paperwork. They took recordings of alleged freak-off sessions, multiple firearms with altered serial numbers, and over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. A detail so bizarre it reads like fiction. Prosecutors now claim these gatherings were not parties at all, but substance-driven, highly controlled environments involving male workers and women allegedly filmed and used as leverage inside what they call the Combs enterprise. Diddy's lawyers say he's innocent. They call the raids a witch hunt and emphasize he was never detained. But the optics, they're devastating. The man once crowned the king of parties is now being painted as the architect of a coercive underground network. And suddenly, that 2009 Lamborghini moment doesn't look like mentorship anymore. IT looks like the beginning of a story we're only now understanding.
Same kind of extortion that we heard when Cassie took the stand and testified on that airplane ride back from France. Diddy said, you don't do a freak-off, I'm going to release one of the freak-off videos that you are profiled in and humiliate you.
By 2023, Diddy and Justin Bieber's long-running connection resurfaced on the Love album, Off the Grid, where Bieber appears on the track Moments, calling it a full-circle dream after having a song rejected at age 14. For years, their relationship looked simple. Diddy opened doors, Bieber showed up, and the industry machine kept spinning. But a lawsuit from producer Rodney, Lil Rod Jones, who claims he spent 13 months living in Diddy's home while making that same album, enduring coerced encounters and substance-filled sessions, has now tied Off the Grid to explosive allegations. Diddy's team says Jones is lying, but when you line up the 2009 vlog, the 2014 Atlanta parties, the 2023 album, and the 2025 federal raids, Bieber's sudden silence stops looking casual and starts looking calculated. Insiders say Justin doesn't want to talk about Diddy unless investigations force him to, and for someone who's always shared his struggles publicly, avoiding this one man speaks louder than any statement.
Wait, what do the babies call you?
Papa Snoop. Part I love is that they all start off the same way. Like they start off crying and kind of like distant from me. I gotta earn their trust and their love.
Will they all become a part of the business, the empire?
We're in the business of love and showing how to be parents, grandparents, and, not that we perfect or that we don't make mistakes, but just giving an example of what it's supposed to look like.
Reports and lawsuits have created a narrative linking Snoop Dogg, Diddy, and the atmosphere surrounding Diddy's parties. In 2022, Snoop faced a civil lawsuit from a woman who alleged she was coerced after a concert, claims his team strongly denied. Though unrelated to Diddy's federal case, the lawsuit drew public parallels about power and backstage access. Some insiders now claim Justin Bieber privately described Snoop as acting like Diddy's right-hand operator at parties, managing guests and smoothing over issues, suggesting he played an active role rather than being a passive attendee. Former staffers interviewed by reporters have described Diddy's events as tightly controlled, with strict security and curated guest lists. Prosecutors allege Diddy's so-called freak-offs were organized operations involving travel arrangements, selected performers, stocked rooms, and even 4 recovery setups. One male worker has reportedly provided investigators with a recording from a 2023 encounter under a cooperation agreement. Diddy's attorney maintains that all encounters were consensual and warns against moralizing private behavior. Investigators, however, are focused on whether any evidence shows fear, coercion, or exploitation.
They were referred to me as Wild King Nights. And what a Wild King Night was when him and a guest would go to a hotel room or be at his home, his bedroom, and they would have intimate gatherings. I would have to go and prep that hotel room, which consisted of baby oil Astroglide.
This is where the idea of leverage creeps back in, and why Bieber's role in the larger picture feels less accidental and more illustrative. A teenager in 2009 might see only glamour when a powerful mogul offers gifts and access. But a man in 2023, watching lawsuits stack up around the same mentor and seeing an old collaboration now tied to a producer's troubling accusations, might suddenly view those past recordings very differently, with federal agents reportedly seizing freak-off footage and former workers turning over their own clips. Industry figures quietly wonder how confident any past guest can be that their image isn't stored on a hard drive somewhere, waiting to surface if they speak out. Sources say this. Unease isn't unique to Bieber. Even artists like Burna Boy get pulled into online commentary, often half-joking, half-accusatory, as fans speculate about what may have gone on behind the scenes of certain collaborations or endorsements. Lawyers dismiss these theories as unfounded, noting there is no evidence tying many of these artists to any misconduct. But that's precisely how a blackmail-friendly environment works. Fear spreads even without proof. And if Snoop was, as Bieber is claimed to have described, a right-hand presence at Diddy's events, someone who understood the structure and flow, then the real question becomes less about Justin's silence and more about how many careers were nudged, protected, or quietly threatened by someone who knew the power those late-night recordings could hold.
I have never seen, until Kendrick now, I'd never seen anybody from where I'm from, the area I'm from, the place I'm from, do what Snoop did.
If the accounts attributed to Justin are even partly accurate, then what's public may only be the surface. In that framing, Snoop wasn't just a laid-back guest. He was part of the ecosystem that kept those nights running. And behind the headlines about raids and lawsuits, investigators now reportedly possess far more than rumors. Hours of recorded material from the so-called freak-off sessions that former staff claim were routinely documented. One male worker has allegedly told federal agents that he was flown to Miami, set up in a luxury property, and directed into a filmed encounter that felt less like intimacy and more like material for leverage. Combined with insider chatter that Snoop often helped with introductions, reassurance, and logistics, observers are now asking whether this was one man's excess or a coordinated system that relied on multiple willing participants. Prosecutors describe the gatherings as highly organized, flights booked, suites prepared, rooms stocked, and the recurring detail of baby oil-lined shelves. Former security and assistants say cameras were common, sometimes visible, sometimes not, and that recording was treated as routine. Did I end that environment? A familiar figure like Snoop greeting guests could function as a tacit signal that everything was normal. If he appeared relaxed, laughing, pouring drinks, calming nerves, it allegedly helped newcomers feel safe or obligated. This is where the idea of control outweighs any single night. When a powerful figure possesses footage of artists acting casually or vulnerably, those clips can begin to feel like unspoken insurance. Industry veterans describe an unwritten rule. Once you were in certain rooms, you didn't cross the person who controlled them. One former road manager even claims that loyalty in the inner circle sometimes had less to do with talent and more to do with who had the most to lose if private recordings ever surfaced.
Well, I mean, look, I could tell you, and I don't think this information is publicly out, so I can't go into specifics, but I know someone who ended a major project with Snoop after he performed at Trump's.
The timing of certain career moments only amplifies the whispers. Take the 2023 album that was promoted as a major cultural reset, the one where Justin finally got the long-promised collaboration. Despite the build-up, his part received almost no push, almost as if his presence mattered more on paper than in promotion. At the same time, lawsuits from former partners and staff were piling up around the mogul behind the project, hinting at deeper turmoil. Months later, Snoop appeared on one of the world's biggest stages, the Super Bowl halftime show, just after his own misconduct lawsuit had surfaced. Some observers saw it as simple nostalgia. Others wondered if it was strategic image polishing while legal teams worked in the background. The pattern critics point to is subtle but persistent: visibility for those aligned with powerful figures and stalled momentum for those who drifted away. Commentators note that Meek Mill's return to awards conversations coincided with renewed ties to influential mentors, while Burna Boy's Grammy-winning project was executive produced by the same mogul now under federal scrutiny. None of this proves wrongdoing by the artists themselves, but it feeds the perception that influence, access, and intimacy may have operated like trading chips. And if Snoop truly helped manage who moved through that orbit, as some insiders allege, then his role may have gone far beyond being a famous guest, potentially influencing which careers surged and which quietly faded.
I'm sorry, I'm just I'm in this moment right now. This is crazy. Sorry. People don't really know how much what it does to you when something that you love is taken from you and thrown away like it don't even matter, and then they move on with their lives and you're stuck. You're stuck during those years. You're still stuck 21 years later.
Insiders at labels and management firms say some people in the industry seemed untouchable for years, missing deadlines or causing problems yet still landing major bookings, while others who quietly distanced themselves from certain private gatherings suddenly found opportunities drying up. 3 longtime industry veterans claim these shifts felt intentional, suggesting that people close to Diddy kept mental tabs on who was loyal and who still needed to prove it. In their telling, Snoop's deep ties across generations made him a natural connector, someone who could bring a rapper, a pop act, and an international star into the same room without raising questions. Officially, labels deny any link between private events and professional opportunities, and publicists dismiss the idea entirely. Unofficially, many observers say the timing has always raised eyebrows. The most explosive rumor reaching reporters covering the federal investigation is that teams are now asking whether some A-list figures were more than guests, whether they acted as informal talent scouts for the inner circle. Snoop's name reportedly surfaces in that context as someone who is consistently present and able to vouch for newcomers. One individual familiar with witness interviews says prosecutors are exploring whether any major artist ever recommended younger performers, influencers, or rising singers, knowing cameras might be recording once they entered certain spaces. No charges of that kind have been filed, and Snoop's team has issued no response, declining even to acknowledge the speculation. In this environment, silence has become almost as attention-grabbing as any public statement.
Have a grown-up discussion, and I don't think we need to cancel a longtime musical artist related to it. It was controversial at the time when they considered pulling it, and I guess this movie can't be shown in some countries. But honestly, really innocuous content.